Ready to do the quorum?
Brandon Partain. Shannon Martell. Present. Bonnie Billings.
Present.
Brad Young.
Present.
Renata York.
Present.
Jason Evans.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Great. Well, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we are ready for item number 3. And we've got 2 people that would like to come forward for public comment. And I'll call Pat Davidson first.
Hello, Chair Billings, members of the CAB. My name is Pat Davison. I live in the North Valleys, attend the North Valleys CAB, but I've been making some comments regarding the CAB reorganization and reimagination. So I thought I would share some of those comments with the other CABs and give you a heads up because we'll be talking more about this in the next few months. I have 3 points that I wanted to share with you. The first is a suggestion that I've made that the CAB agendas show current projects webpage along with the Hub webpage, and you'll see the Hub webpage every month on your agenda. If you add the current projects, you will actually see which projects have submitted a formal application, who the staff person is, which planning or whether Planning Commission or Board of Adjustment will be making the decision and the date of the decision meeting. So it's in addition to the Hub webpage, and it actually covers current projects, which the Hub does not. The second comment was to give a little love to the CABs in promotion and marketing. It's the best kept secret in town. Can we market the CAB meetings to the HOAs and Facebook? It's a great vehicle for two-way communication. The county brings information to all of us at the local level, and the county can take information from all of us. It's a great means for back and forth communication, but very few people know about the CAB meetings. So can we do more with marketing and promotion of the CABs? And the third is to include the Dignity Index in the CAB handbook. The Dignity Index was adopted, I think, by Washoe County in 2023, thanks to Commissioner Andriola. She and I both heard the presentation earlier in 2023 about the Dignity Index. It provides a way for all voices to be heard because it is based on a foundation of respect. It is not a mechanism to control or limit opinion. So I may not agree with your position, but I respect and admire the fact you got involved with this issue. That's the Dignity Index. And I left for all of you a copy with some of the descriptive phrases and what the index is itself. So you've got that. There were a couple of extra copies on there, but Commissioner Andriola was a champion. So thank you, Commissioner Andriola, for carrying that forward through Washoe County. So thanks for listening. I hope that your CAB participates in the next few months as the reorganization plans come in front of the County Commission. Thank you.
Okay, with that, the next speaker is Mike Wallace.
But I defer to the later.
You want to do the later one? Okay, that's fine. All right, so then we're going to go to the approval of the minutes, and I believe that we have one correction. Shannon, do you want to speak to that correction? Is this the only one?
That's the only one. So there was one correction under item number 6, preserving the past and planning for the future of the Reno Parks Indian Colony. Just a very small correction. Michonne Eben, her name is spelled incorrectly in the draft minutes. It is not M-I-S-H-O-N, it is M-I-C-H-O-N.
Were there any other corrections?
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
That's Brad Young who made the motion and Jason Evans for the second.
Okay, so now we're ready for the public safety updates. And we have the Truckee Meadows Fire Department here.
Just offer a suggestion. We have a motion and a second, and I didn't know if you had got all in favor.
Oh, all in favor.
Just, I don't mean to
Thank you.
interrupt.
Thank you. Do we have all in favor for the second?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, so now this is the Truckee Meadows Fire Department.
Good evening. For the record, Joe Shum, Division Chief, Truckee Meadows Fire and Rescue. Here with some operational updates for you. Roll through kind of the statistics like we normally do at each CAB. We are on average at 186 calls a month out at the Spanish Spring Station on La Posada Drive. We run an additional 35 to 40 calls a month into the city of Sparks as an automatic and mutual aid partner with them. They also help us with about 20 calls in addition to. So nice marriage and happiness there with helping each other out when we're not available. In the month of March, we had 151 medical calls out here, 4 traffic accidents, and the remaining calls were all good intent, hazardous, false alarms, that sort of stuff. Nothing major to report out here in the Spanish Springs area. Our crew also continues to help the Pyramid Lake tribe with calls out in their area when they happen to have multiple or concurrent emergencies out there. Our ambulance and our engine are fully staffed and doing a great job. Couple announcements for you is open burning started on the 1st of this month for the spring session. Everyone needs to still have a 24/25 burn permit. They're available on our website, tmfpd.us. That's also the place you'll find the flag color for the day if burning is permitted. Right at the bottom, green flag is good, red flag is no good. Or you can call the burn line, our main number, option 1. There's a recording. It'll tell you whether it's open or closed for the day. Green waste for the spring is not going to happen. It is closed for spring. We have amassed such a large amount of material from the fall green waste and the previous green waste. We are still processing all the loads of stuff from folks, and the drop-off points cannot handle the capacities. So we're focusing on our efforts of taking care of all the good work that was done in the fall. So we're not going to have the green waste project. Our fuels crews continue to work with NV Energy and other grant processes to do fuels work in the community, but unfortunately for the spring, we're not going to have a drop off for the citizens. You can take green waste to Lockwood. They do have a green waste section out there, and you do get free drop offs at the Sutro transfer station and Lockwood as a resident of Washoe County, a paying resident for trash services. So that's an option for you. I'll close real quick with hiring and promotions. We are at full staff. We just graduated an academy. They're completing their initial field training as a 4th ride is what we call it, where they get indoctrinated into station life. Then 2 months, they will be on their own and a full-fledged member of the crew doing good things there. We did just open a recruitment. If you know any paramedics that want to become firefighters, we are recruiting. That is in advance to plan for attrition and be ahead of it so that this fall we can have another academy and be ready. We are anticipating multiple retirements this year, so we want to be ready for it. We did have one battalion chief retire, and at your next meeting, I hope to have the newly promoted Chief Whitlock with me so he can be introduced to you all here. That is all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you have any questions for the fire department? Yes, one.
Hi, thank you for coming. I'm Joni Hammond. There's a bill in the legislature proposing a consolidation of fire districts with Sparks, Reno, and Washoe County. What are your thoughts on that bill and the consolidation?
We know the bill is in process. The fire chief actually, Chief Way and Chief Kettering are monitoring it closely with the commissioners and the county manager to watch what happens, but we're waiting to see what happens as it sits currently in committee. So we're just waiting to see how that comes to fruition. There are meetings and discussions that are happening between the department heads already about how this might look and form for us. So we're preparing for those directions.
Do you think it's workable?
I'll reserve
I'm
my
asking for
personal
your
opinions.
thoughts.
I'll reserve my personal opinions as I don't have all the in-depth answers because I, like you, have read the bill and there are still questions out there that I have, but we have to kind of wait and see.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
There's one more question, Madam Chair.
Oh, one more question, yes.
So
with all the growth, my name's Alan Kuchelova, by the way. With all the growth and everything that's going on out in this direction, you said the La Posada station, 46, I believe it is, right? It sounds like a very busy station. What are the chances of a second ambulance or a second engine crew or anything like that being there? Because I know if they're out on a call, and they're out on quite a few calls, it could take up to an hour or longer at times if they're making a run into a hospital or anything like that.
Well, so as the Truckee Meadows Fire District, we have all of our resources, all 10 stations in the county staffed. So when the 46 crew is out on a call or transporting a patient, REMSA has their ambulances, and they, because we're a part of their dispatch center, they know where our ambulances are. We know where their ambulances are. They're one center. So they will float ambulances out here to kind of predict for the next call. Sparks also has an ambulance over here by Golden Eagle Park. So they all work in concert together to cover the calls. Should the Engine 46 crew not be available, we automatically dispatch the next closest, which would be Sun Valley. And if they're not available, it trickles down and it'll find the way through Spark Station 51, Station 41, 21. So there's a kind of an amoeba that covers all of this. And should Sparks come to Spanish Springs, then we will backfill Sparks from our Hidden Valley station and so on and so forth. So there is coverage. It's just, yeah, there could be a little bit of a delay on the concurrent call. But the mutual aid and automatic aid agreements that we have are really strong with Sparks. And so we continually work together to make sure that you have the best coverage possible. I know that the city of Sparks actually has a fire station under construction. I can't speak to their plans on that, but I know it is under construction right now and being dried in as we speak. So there is plans for additional public safety in Sparks and, to continue what we're doing here for the county residents. We also, as Truckee Meadows, bought some land preemptively a few years ago, knowing that we might have to build a bigger fire station and expand. So we have that already kind of on the books. We own it. And so we can preemptively and prepare for the continued growth that we are seeing.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, my goal is to keep the meeting to an hour to an hour and a half. So I'm going to call up the sheriff's office for his report.
Good evening, everybody. Sergeant Whitmore, Washoe County Sheriff's Office. Tonight, I'm going to briefly talk about some DUI stuff we're seeing. Just this week, we had one of our deputies actually hit head on by a drunk driver just up here off of La Posada. Which leads me into a little bit more of an awareness thing for you guys when it comes to DUIs. As I said in previous meetings, the intel we get from you folks, driving around, making that phone call, pulling over to the side, hitting that Bluetooth, calling in the drunk drivers when you see them, give us the license plate, direction of travel, most accurate description of the vehicle you can, but don't ever, ever, ever put yourself in danger. And we're seeing an uptick in wrong way drivers. I don't know if it's due to weather, because it was snowy the other night when this happened or not, but wrong way drivers are one of the most dangerous things we can encounter. Most traffic fatalities are T-bones. The second behind that is probably the head-on collisions because there's such a kinetic transfer of energy into the body and it's hard to survive those. So when you see those headlights and they look like they're on the wrong side of the road, there's nothing wrong with pulling over to the side and letting them go by. Call us and we'll get our vehicles en route to intercept, okay? Just don't put yourself into a situation where you're endangering yourself to help us out, okay? I don't have many numbers updating for this quarter. We're still compiling those. Our analysts are building those numbers, looking at our calls for service and everything like that. We expect to have more DUI arrests. That's one of the sheriff's pillars this year, his strategic plan. So our DUIs, I can speak for my team, have been going up. We've been making more of those arrests. We're being more present in the areas we think we're going to be able to intercept those drivers. We did take action on a topic from last month's meeting. We have started an initiative out there at Golden Eagle Park. We are pairing up with BLM and we are making targeted patrols during strategic times of the day when shooters are most active. Not only are we enacting enforcement, but we're also providing education. It is illegal to shoot over a roadway, a highway, but the dirt trails over there, people are allowed to shoot over. So that's causing conflict between people out there. So we published a pamphlet. The board has a copy of it. I don't know if it's here today, But that's available to you. And again, if it doesn't look right, don't be afraid to call the non-emergency number and say, hey, I'm seeing this. What's going on? As always, on the Washoe County Sheriff's Office app, you can pull up the congested area map on there and it will actually show you exactly where those congested areas are and where it's safe to shoot, legal to shoot, and safe for you to recreate, okay? And I had one question right before we started, and in the interest of keeping things moving along, I'm just gonna hit that. And then that'll be all for me. Currently, right now, we're getting ready to start our new shift bid, our next rotation of the 4 months that we work a shift at the sheriff's office. Patrol is currently bidding 73 deputies. So 73 deputies will be on the road between day shift and night shift on 4 separate shifts, 12-hour shifts, 5:30, 6 to 6 for the patrol deputies, 5:30 to 5:30 for supervisors. So we have A, B, C, and D team, and 73 is a good number for us. At one point in time, we were bidding in the 50s. So we are hitting our personnel goals. We are actively hiring. However, we're not taking any laterals at the moment. We're taking new hires. We're looking for the longevity of it, not somebody who's on the twilight tour wants to just retire somewhere and milk pearls for 2 years of work with us. Okay, so we're looking for that long-term hire, that person who's really dedicated to the community they're about to live in. Okay, we do expect a lot of promotions. We're currently we tested for sergeant. There was over 20 that tested for sergeant. We're testing at the end of this month. There's 12 of us testing for lieutenant, and I think 5 are trying to promote to captain. So with that said, those are in anticipation of roll-ups, which are hiring opportunities. So as some of the old guard leaves, mid guard moves up and the new guard comes in. So we are in a good place. The sheriff's doing everything he can to keep us fully staffed. Budgetary concerns are all across the board. Washoe County, Reno, Sparks, the writing's on the wall. We're pinching our pennies. We're making sure we're being diligent with the funds that are entrusted to us. We're not taking needless overtime or anything like that, but we're using every one of our deputies to the fullest potential possible. On that, I'll open it up for questions real quick and then I'll let you guys be on.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, thank you so much for being here. We really
Our
appreciate it.
pleasure, always a pleasure.
Okay, so with that, we have our guest speaker, and this is the effective emergency self-preparedness. This is Kelly from the Washoe County Emergency Operations Center. So thank you, Kelly.
Thank you. Kelly Echevarria. I am your county emergency manager. Thank you for having me today. I am always excited to talk about personal preparedness. Andy, if you could go to the next slide. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about us and our organization. A lot of times when I tell people, hey, I'm in emergency management, they say, ooh, it must be hard working for the hospital. I wouldn't know, but I'm sure it is. Yeah. So I'm the administrator and I have 3 staff members. Historically, we were a team of 2. So we had grants and finance, and then we had the administrator. We have it expanded to a small but mighty team of 4 now. So we also have a Homeland Security coordinator and someone over mitigation as well, which is a huge passion of mine. It might come across when I talk, but I firmly believe that if you can invest in mitigation and reduce or eliminate the impact of a disaster ahead of time, then that's what you should be focused on. Especially if that means that the community is going to feel less of an impact as well. So this is my home away from home, the Regional Emergency Operations Center. Our building is jointly managed between the City of Sparks, City of Reno, and Washoe County. And that means that any one of those entities can activate it. And we stand up for 2 primary reasons. One is information and the other is resource support. We do have a couple of operational tasks that we're responsible for, but I'll talk a little bit about those in the future. And then we're also co-located with dispatch. So Reno dispatch and Washoe County Sheriff's Office dispatch are upstairs in the building. I always tell people you can tell what disaster happened right before an EOC was built. And so for us, we are up on the hill by the SPCA, and we came out of a flood. But if you look at like the state's emergency operations center, it looks like a fortress, and that came after 9/11. So there's nuances to EOCs, but ours, we're very grateful for it. It's a beautiful facility. Okay, so we have 13 identified hazards in our region. We revisit these hazards every 5 years, make sure these are still what we have, nothing has been added, and that we are planning for these, we're mitigating against other impacts. So wildfire, earthquake, flood, transportation incidents, that could include a bus incident or Amtrak. We had Amtrak not, well, I guess this century, time flies, it was in the aughts. Airplanes, that sort of thing. Avalanche and landslide. We do have the only urban avalanche area around Lake Tahoe, and that is in Incline Village and Crystal Bay. Criminal acts and terrorism, drought, energy emergency, which we seem to experience frequently in the winter. And extreme weather, we like extreme heat and extreme for like a prolonged period of time, or extreme cold. Hazardous materials, infectious disease, radiological waste transport, and believe it or not, volcano. Not the lava part, but more of the ash impact, which if you've ever seen how the smoke comes in from the wildfires in California, it comes from the south and it comes from the west, and that is the exact path that the volcanic ash would take as well. Okay, so emergency management loves cycles, but we do all of these things at any given time. It's not one that leads into another. We work on prevention. That is more like law enforcement focused. Think, if you will, like barriers or bollards at an event that you may go to, like rib cook-off, that might block a car from going through a crowd. Mitigation, I spoke a little bit about that. Preparedness, both for us and for you. Response is the one that gets a lot of attention, and then recovery, which can be either short or long-term. All right, so I was explaining to Commissioner Andriola and to Chair Billings that I was very excited to be here with you, because a lot of time the conversations that I have at CABS lead to greater things, and this is one of those things. So I was out in Warm Springs a while back and had a conversation with those lovely folks in which they said, we just don't know what to expect in an evacuation. And setting expectations is really important for me. I think that evacuations are incredibly scary and hectic, and especially if you don't know what to expect or you don't know what's going on. So we created this video to help manage expectations, so that our community members could make better decisions about their safety before and during an incident. So Candy. This is like torture for me, having to watch myself. I just want you to know. Oh, you're missing some sound, my friend. Although if you can sign, you know. So we actually did this video in English, Spanish, and Tagalog, because those are the top 3 languages in our region. And then we were able to include American Sign Language as well. So we want to reach as many people as possible. And we recognize that with just having the words, the deaf and hard of hearing community was missing out on the tone and inflection. And it's just harder to read than it is to understand a language. So
Well, since it's your voice, you may want to narrate it.
you
Just a suggestion.
I remember
It's
my exact
just a
words.
Suggestion.
That's a desk. That's what I look like when I'm focused.
Got it all memorized.
Yeah, yeah.
You do need to fast forward through that stop shot right there. That's, you're in deep thought right there.
Deep thought.
There you go.
See, this we already know. I am Kelly Echeverria. I am the Washoe County Emergency Management Administrator.
Sing to your lips.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
No pressure. No
I'm
pressure.
talented. I'm not that talented.
You are talented.
Okay, I can just read it if you want, maybe.
We're expecting big things.
Yeah.
Meryl Streep, eat your heart out.
Our region has 13 identified hazards that we plan and train for, mitigate against, and are ready to respond to and recover from. An evacuation can be ordered at any time a threat to the public is determined. Those evacuations can be intense and scary. Our hope is that this video will give you a better idea of how and why decisions are made, what first responders are doing to keep you safe, and how you can better prepare for an evacuation scenario. These are the sequence of events in an evacuation. A threat to the public is determined by first responders, such as fire or law enforcement. An evacuation area is determined by first responders based on a number of details, including speed of the threat, likelihood of impact to an area, population of the area, etc. A request is sent to emergency management for an evacuation alert. Emergency management works with the Emergency Shelter Council to identify an evacuation point or shelter location to send the public to. Once that location is decided, it is populated on the map. And an evacuation alert is sent via our alerting software. Alerts are sent through a number of ways, including wireless emergency alerts, WIAs, via cell towers to cell phones, emergency alerting system to radios and television, reverse dial to landlines, emails, TTD, and social media. Information can always be found at perimetermap.com or emergencywashoe.com. Alerts will include the following types of information: type of threat, directions, where to go, and how to find information, and a link to perimetermap.com, which will show information on evacuation areas, routes, shelters, road closures, and where you are in relation to all of those things. An example would be there's a wildfire in your area, evacuate as soon as possible. Check perimetermap.com to view the evacuation area and any roadblocks. Watch for first responders. Check traditional or social media for updates. Factors in selecting an evacuation area include the size and population density of an area, any events that may be happening that day. Sorry, the white's throwing me off. The number of roads in and out of the area, and the speed of the threat towards the area. First responders will aim to evacuate areas in phases to avoid traffic issues and secondary emergencies. The perimeter mapping software also allows first responders to mark areas that should be prepared for evacuations. The public can see where they are in relation to an evacuation area or possible evacuation area. You can expect to see a number of responders during an evacuation event, including community emergency response teams or CERT volunteers, law enforcement, such as NHP, the Sheriff's Office, Reno PD, or Sparks PD, REMSA, firefighters from impacted jurisdictions or neighboring jurisdictions, NDOT, road crews, or animal services. Some common questions you may have could be, do I have to wait for an evacuation alert? The answer is no, you can leave at any time. We recommend leaving earlier, if possible, to avoid delays in the evacuation process. How do I know if I'm in an evacuation area? Go to perimetermap.com. Will I have time to pack everything I need once I receive an alert? You may or may not have time, depending on the incident. It's good to have a preparedness kit already packed and by the door or at another location. What should I do to get ready? Have a plan with a meeting place in your neighborhood and outside your neighborhood, and practice that plan. Can I go into an evacuation area to get items or pets from my home? No. Please plan ahead. It is a good idea to have preparedness kit for your pets too. What if I can't get into an evacuation zone to help loved ones or a pet? Please contact first responders to let them know there is a pet or person, sorry, trapped in specific locations. Just like we all used to practice fire drills in school, we should be practicing our personal preparedness evacuation plans and drills so that we can make more calm and informed decisions in what can be a hectic and intense situation. For more information and a template on how to build your plan, please visit www.readywashoe.com.
You didn't say once.
Good job, No, I save that for when I'm speaking to the Board of County Commissioners. All right, so we talked a little bit about this, but in the video, but we'll keep it rolling. So in response, I mentioned that emergency management does have operational responsibility, so we're not just providing information, verifying the information and providing it to those who need it, but or getting resources, but we also are responsible for mass care, so sheltering, feeding animals, reunification. If there's a large incident where we need to reconnect loved ones with their family members, air races would be a great example of that. We are responsible for volunteer and donations management, and then damage assessment and notification. So I mentioned this in the video, didn't think I'd be saying it twice, but typically an incident occurs, a threat is determined, a request for evacuation alert is sent to emergency management. We confirm the evacuation site is safe. Emergency management activates the emergency shelter council to confirm, and then the alert is sent. So, did you know that emergency management and libraries are great friends? And part of that awesome partnership and why we love them so much is we agreed that all of the libraries can be used as temporary evacuation points, which is really helpful for us. So what used to happen, maybe 10 years ago, is if you were on the emergency shelter council, you had a pager and you look like a drug dealer. But the page would come through, you would call the conference call line. We would all discuss, where should we open a shelter? This is what's going on. Then we would say, hey, is that school open? Can we stand up a shelter there? And then everybody would get rolling, and then we would send an alert. So if you can imagine, that takes a significant amount of time. So since then, we have tossed the pagers. Oh, so sad. We are all in a group chat. And we have the library. So we're able to say, hey, there's a threat in this location, send everybody to this library. The beautiful thing about libraries is not only is Shanna here making sure that we are welcome. We've opened in this location before, and there were wonderful welcome signs, and they moved a meeting and everything. It was great. But we have the keys. So we don't have to ask anyone for permission. Permission has already been given. And so we can get resources here to support an emergency temporary evacuation point super fast. And that's what we want. We don't want to evacuate people and then they're waiting around in the parking lot for us to show up. Also, the beautiful thing about libraries is they're already a place of information and community and comfort. And so we thought, what a perfect match. So also in this area, not a lot of people require shelter. Typically it's like 1% to 2% of the population, but we are a resilient Nevada. I have never seen more people with RVs or friends and family willing to take them in than I have in this region, and it's awesome. So the temporary evacuation point allows us to see and gauge if we need to open a larger shelter, which takes a lot more resources. So we're trying to be good stewards of the county dollar and make sure that we're not wasting resources when we don't have to, that we're working within the abilities that we already have. Okay, so then we talked about alerts. It may not seem like a lot of information, but we're limited on how many characters we can use. Now FEMA has expanded that through their system of iPause, but still we don't have a lot. And so for Callahan Fire, for example, I was on call that day. and there was a fire and I was at RC Willie's of all places. And so we got the message to send the alert. And I was in the passenger side of my car going 90, speed, oh, he left. Speed limit on the highway, trying to get home so that I could make sure that I was in front of a computer so I could better support the operation. But sent an alert to more people than needed it, but the people that needed it got it. And what was interesting about that was, we practice this all the time, but I'm always nervous that I'm not giving enough information, but we're limited, right? So what was cool about that was somebody from the emergency management community picked up that alert, someone that I don't know, and posted it within the community and said, this is how it's done. It's to the point, it's providing critical information to the community, and you're not getting more than you need. So that was great for my anxiety, but also we've seen from other jurisdictions alerts that are like paragraphs and paragraphs. And we are never going to send something like that because it's difficult to find the critical information. And when you're in an emergency, they have studies about how your brain capacity drops when your adrenaline spikes. And so we want to make things as easy as possible and communicate in the best way possible. So we practice all the time, we follow FEMA guidance, and we send the information that you need to make decisions about your safety. We switched our alerting tool, which I'm really, really proud of, to Rave Smart 911. There are flyers up here. Please download the app and sign up. You can not only, say how you prefer to receive information, but it geotags you to your house. So like I've received an alert while I'm out of the country because my phone is geotagged to my house. Doesn't do anything for my anxiety about the safety of my house, but I know what's going on and I can ask my neighbor to get my pets, type of thing. You can also indicate if you have access and functional needs, or someone in your house has access and functional needs. And what that means for us is that we can run a report of the area and send you a message and say, can you get out? If you can't get out, please notify 911 and we'll send resources to you. We will send an alert to the area outside of the evacuation area to those with access and functional needs so they can take extra time to leave. And they know that they have that time. They're not quite in the evacuation area yet, but we recognize that they have a need to leave early. And so we're letting them know to do that, which is something we've been looking for over a decade. And so I'm very, very excited that we have this new opportunity. But you gotta sign up. I don't know if you have access and functional needs unless you download the app and sign up and tell us that you have access and functional needs. We send alerts through every technological method available to us. I don't have carrier pigeons, but if I did, I would send those too. I often get a lot of, what if cells are down and what if this is happening? And I'm like, listen, I am using every method available to me to talk to you. Do you have a landline? Do you have a TV or a radio? Like that's you being prepared to receive information if there isn't cell service. So there are backups, but you have to invest in those. I realize that not everybody has the funding to do that. And oftentimes our preparedness fairs, we hand out those radios. So people do have that. Just depends on our budget. So we also brought on perimetermap.com. This website received 2.4 million visitors during Davis fire, which broke a lot of records. This was something that came to us through North Lake Tahoe Fire Protection District. And believe it or not, I get a ton of these presentations. We're looking for something because we have a lot of visitors to our area and a lot of our street names are weird. So it used to be in our alert, if you live between street A and B and road 1 and 2, please evacuate now. But it was never A and B and 1 and 2. It was like Gibraltar and I don't know, Quesadilla, and so nobody knows what the weird names in their neighborhood are. Well, I don't anyways. And so I figured if I had that problem, other people probably did too. So then you spend time trying to find out, am I in this evacuation area? Let me look at a map when you should be leaving. And so we're trying to increase the efficiency, and that was the goal of Perimeter, to allow you to make quicker decisions on your safety, whether to leave or not. And so please leave. But Perimeter is working. We Washoe County, I immediately went to the state and said, everyone needs this. And they said, well, why don't you pilot it and let us know how? So we piloted it with for Carson, Douglas, Story, and Washoe, using Homeland Security funding. Then we brought on, we brought on Story, sorry. And then we brought on Humboldt, Elko, Lyon, Nye County, Pershing County. So 5 more counties in the second round. And this year we'll be bringing on Mineral, Esmeralda, and White Pine, and possibly more. So 3 more, at which point I hope to just hand it back over to the state to handle all that administrative stuff, and we still get to keep perimeter. But very excited to be bringing this to our state and recognize that we're only as safe as our neighbors, and so to be able to provide it to them as well. But it's real-time information. It takes very low connectivity to change the information. So Chief Shum and Officer Whitmore both have access to this application. So in the field, Truckee Meadows Fire, for example, can draw the perimeter of a fire and can draw the evacuation area. Officer Whitmore could put on road closures or preferred evacuation routes. Emergency management will confirm that information before we publish it to the public. But on the back, in the background, we're sharing that information with each other now. So now emergency management has an idea of what's happening in the field, and we can lean forward with our efforts and make sure that we're maybe getting something that the field might need early. So officers or fire might need early, or connecting animal services with where is the staging location for everything so that they can go support animals that are being evacuated and they know where to go for that. But the public might not necessarily need that. So it has 2 functions. For you, you do not need an app. Don't download it. It's not for you. Just go to the website of perimetermap.com. Go on. Okay, so evacuating, do it. Do it when I ask you to do it. I am not going to ask people to evacuate for fun. I'm not going to ask you to evacuate if public safety is not concerned about your safety. So I have, in my time in disasters, and Commissioner Andriola knows this, come across people, families that didn't leave because stuff. They didn't want their stuff to get stolen. It got stolen last time. They don't want it to happen again. And then members of that family didn't make it. And I don't want that for any of you. Our sheriff's officers do a fantastic job of securing an area or calling in support like the National Guard during Davis Fire to act as a force multiplier and really secure an area so that there's not nefarious individuals going through and stealing things from your home. Even if they were, please leave, because you can replace stuff, but you cannot replace each other. And I joke around a lot, but I'm very serious about that. Leave early if you can. Roads can become congested. There's nothing you or I can do about that, but leaving early really helps the road congestion. You can't change that, but leaving early will help with that. Listen to first responders as where to go. There is no predetermined shelter that you're going to go every single time. I mentioned the libraries. It's helpful to have them as an easy choice, but we never know which one of those 13 hazards is happening and where the threat is coming from. So I would hate to tell you every single time, come to this library, and then if the threat is coming from the direction of this library, you're now headed into that area. So be sure that you're checking where we're telling you to go so that you don't put yourself in harm's way. Keep on going. Okay, so what you can do is have a kit. Those ones that you can buy from Home Depot are great if you're camping in the woods. But I always recommend personalizing your kits. I myself was evacuated in Pine Haven Fire, and I was off that day. And I grabbed my laundry basket because I knew that I liked those clothes and they fit, and all I had to do was wash them. One of the things, I mean, I had been in preparedness for a long time when that fire happened. And, you know, we had said in theory, like, okay, well, what if there's no power? Or can you get out of your house if you have 5 minutes? Now, what about 2 minutes? Now, what about 1 minute? Yeah, so, I mean, and that's true. So we had multiple officers banging on our door during that fire, telling us to get out. the lights were off. There was no power. NV Energy cut the power because they don't want to make the situation worse by having live lines in a fire area, which meant that I couldn't see anything in my closet. To be able to say, let me get these clothes and let me pack these shoes and let me get these medications or this stuff for my dog. Luckily, I had that laundry basket, which I also dumped my jewelry into, and ran out the door as I grabbed my go kits, which were by the door. So I had one for my pets, which if you have a cat, you can just get a tub and then keep bags of food and litter inside that tub, and the tub becomes the litter box. For dogs, you know, food and a leash or whatever they might need. When we talk about medications in a kit, it's really hard to squirrel those away, getting harder by the day. I know I can't do it for members of my family because it's a controlled substance. But if you take a picture of the label on the medication, the Red Cross can help fill those medications if you're in an evacuation area. Also, I think your doctor's office might be able to help with that as well if they're still up and running. So make a plan that includes you and your pets. For us, my pets went to a family member's house or they could have come to my office. But if you're not home, is there a neighbor who is home who's able to check on your pets? Or do you have a sign on the door that says we have these pets inside for the fire department? And then stay informed. So knowing where to get your information. For such a long time, Twitter at the time was where we sent people, because what was realized in 9/11 was so many local phone lines would not work. They were overwhelmed. But you could push out information on Twitter because it was such a small amount of bandwidth. And if there was a verified account, then you knew that that account was where you could get information. Now with the live downfall of Twitter, however you feel about that is your feelings, but it is no longer a reliable source of information. We are still posting on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, but I implore you to look ahead of time and know which accounts that you're following to get that disaster information, Washoe County being one of them. So we're gonna always push that out. There's emergencywashoe.com, which is a shared website between the jurisdictions where we post information, and Perimeter Map is on there as well. But yeah, I think the only thing maybe I didn't talk about was livestock. Have a plan for your livestock as well, because a lot of time that takes more time. Chickens included. Chickens are people too, you know, so. Candy, next slide. So there you go. As I mentioned, these are some things that could go into your go bag. Water, food, chargers, super important. Clothes, toiletries, medications, we talked about. Scanning important documents into a flash drive or a tablet or on a cloud that you trust is really important. It'll help if you have to replace any of those things. So if you left your wallet at home and then now your wallet is gone, how are you going to replace your ID if you also lost your social security card and your birth certificate and those sort of things? But if you have copies of those, then there are ways to work with organizations post-disaster to replace those items. And anything that brings you comfort. I have books, or family members of mine have games in their go bags. And so if there's something, a special stuffy or whatever for my kids, that is going to bring you comfort. Disasters are rough emotionally. And so be sure to include that. If it's a copy of a picture that you love, maybe that helps as well too. Some items for family members as well, very similar to our own items. And then for pets, we talked about that as well. So some additional efforts that are underway. Oh, this is a good one. I'm very proud of this one. The Road to Resilience. There's a lot of stuff happening here as a multi-year road that we're all on together. You didn't even know it. So in the first year, we launched Perimeter Map. We held a full-scale evacuation exercise in Incline Village, and that was with partners from both sides of the state line. So California partners, the state of Nevada was there, Carson, Douglas, gosh, I think even Humboldt was there. We had a bunch of partners participating so that they could see what we do and how we operate in an evacuation. And what full scale means is that the partners who are in the field doing the things are in the field doing the things. So the sheriff's office, for example, was going door to door in a neighborhood, knocking on the door, letting them know, hey, we're testing our procedures for evacuation today. In this scenario, you would be evacuated. The evacuation center is actually a preparedness fair down at the community center. So you're welcome to go there if you'd like to practice your evacuation plan. And there was a lot of messaging that went out before that, so it should have been a surprise to no one. But it tested our procedures so that we could identify gaps. That's the point. We don't want to do perfect in any of these exercises. We want to find our points of failure. We want to find our gaps so we can document those and throw resources at it to make it better and do better next time. And then we held a community forum later that year in Incline Village to share the results of that evacuation exercise with the community there. In 2024, a lot busier, it would seem, but we formed something called the Tahoe Emergency Managers Group. That's something that Washoe started and came out of Caldor Fire, actually. So during Caldor Fire and Dixie Fire, both happening at the same time, a lot of requests were coming into my office from California at the local level, which is not the process. You have to go up through the state. Happy to help and guide my partners across the line, but I also didn't know who they were, which is a problem. Disasters don't respect jurisdictional boundaries, darn it. But so now we have this group with town of Truckee, Alpine County, even though those two things aren't directly on the lake, El Dorado, Placer, Carson, Douglas, Washoe. Now the state of Nevada is participating in that group and the state of California as well. And so we're sharing training opportunities. We've cross-trained for avalanche with our roads crews and their sheriff's office. We share our plans, our evacuation plans. And we talk about heavy topics as well, like mass care and supporting the community and what concerns have we had, and evacuation, specifically evacuation, because as you can imagine around the lake, that's a heavy topic. So very, very proud of that group. We meet quarterly in a different jurisdiction every time. Then we started the events operations group, also super exciting. So we stood it up for Red, White, Tahoe, Blue, and for the balloon races. And so what that is emergency management, fire, law enforcement, EMS, dispatch, and the event itself, a decision maker from the event, are all in the same room together. Often weather service is there. We've had UNR present as well. FBI could be there. And the point is that we're all sharing information and leaning forward, ready to respond. We have pre-canned messages ready. So if something were to happen, we say, all quiet in the room, message 15, and 15 would go out because our public information officers are also in the room. And so it's all joint information going out. This was really helpful in balloon races. We had somebody drive across an underground beehive, releasing the bees. Yeah. And then we had a trauma incident called in, which would have required an engine and ambulance to then stop the balloons and disrupt the event. It should have been called in as a trauma, but it actually was somebody lost a fingernail. It was ripped off, an actual fingernail. So yes, trauma and hurt, but solved by a Band-Aid and no need to disrupt the event. So then they were able to keep those resources in the area where they belong so that they could respond to other calls. To your point, sir, they weren't taken away from the area where they were needed, which became really helpful because Davis Fire happened that same day. So can you imagine if we're fighting Davis Fire and now engines are being pulled away for a fingernail at an event? Crazy. So that's one. We're working with Reno Rodeo to stand up that group for them this year. I just went with Burning Man to check out how South by Southwest stands their events operations center up in Austin, Texas. And so hopefully as things grow, we can stand that up for Burning Man and Rib Cook-Off because both are happening at the same time, because why not? So we can support both those events, but also those things don't happen at the EOC. The Events Operations Center is somewhere else, which was really helpful during balloon races because Davis Fire happened and Pride was happening. So if something happened there, then the Events Operations Center was able to carry on and support the balloon races while the EOC was completely staffed for Davis Fire. So to be able to do that is just incredible. And I'm very proud of that group as well. We created the multi-language evacuation video, of which you heard one and saw another. It does work, I promise. And then we also created the dashboard of regional agencies, or DORA for short, because we love acronyms. What this is a dashboard where you can see perimeter map, all the alerts that have been sent next to it. You can see wind, road conditions and closures on another tab, weather. Gosh, there's a bunch of tabs now. Oh, one of the things that Chief Shum mentioned was wildfire mitigation efforts. There is a tab on there now where we pull in the data from Truckee Meadows, NDF. We're working for the U.S. Forest Service to get their information in, NV Energy, North Lake Tahoe Fire Protection District. So you can see annually where they have done wildfire mitigation in our community, which is awesome. Just another communication tool for the public to see what efforts are being done, so that they can better, have an idea of what's happening in their neighborhood. And then emergency alerts, switching to Smart 911, as I mentioned before. So this year, 2025, we wanted to do an evacuation study for the county and find out what are our top areas of concern, why are they our top areas of concern, and what can we do to mitigate those items, which I imagine can be replicated elsewhere. Something like that is very expensive, but we just got a donation to be able to do that, no strings attached. Donation, which was, I thought it was Christmas in like February. This call that I received was just the best call ever. So now we get to do this study, which means that then after that, we can update our plan. And we can put mitigation efforts in place to make sure that evacuations are happening faster, that there are less choke points, that they're safer and more effective, and we can really dictate where those resources go to make that happen. I'm not saying it is going to take, 20 minutes to evacuate. It still might take some time. That's evacuations. That's what happens. It's a disaster. It's not, it's probably similar to like rush hour. It takes, but a little bit slower. It takes a long time. But now we can make that faster. We can only work with what we have. So if this study says, there needs to be more roads, and then those are conversations that we can have with roads and CSD and planning and commissioners to say, how do we get more roads here? This is what the study says. So we are in the process of looking at different vendors to do the traffic modeling and the fire modeling, that being like the threat we anticipate that would cause a fast evacuation, because most of our large fires are wind driven. So that's the threat that we're applying to this evacuation modeling. And so we're in the very fun process of identifying the software to do that in the most cost-effective way. Again, just because we have a donation doesn't mean that we're trying to be wasteful with the money that were given to us. So that, and then a vendor to do the analysis. We want to hire a vendor for that portion so that it is a third party and there's no thoughts or feelings imparted by any of our partners or emergency management ourselves. We think that it will add validity to the study itself. And so that's something we're very passionate about, making sure that it's a valid study, that it's bringing in specific data and not just, well, I think there's like 70,000 people at Rib Cook-Off, so let's like account for that. No, we want like hard data. We want cell phone data. We want toilet flushes. Like we want to know how many people were there based on mathematical equations, and not just feelings or counts of somebody watching people go by. So that is our goal for this year, to identify that. We've given ourselves a year to put on this study. Talking with other jurisdictions that have done that, that is a fast-paced amount of time, but can be done. So that's our goal, and then to implement those mitigation actions from the study and update our plan to make sure it reflects what the study came up with. So that's the road to resilience. Okay, that's
Thank you,
it.
Kelly.
Yep.
Thank you. I really appreciate you coming.
First.
And then we'll take just a few questions. just because we want to limit our, be out of here by 7:30. So, yes.
Mine is more a comment and a recommendation. Thank you for spearheading perimetermap.com. It is an awesome tool. And for the audience, the next time we have an emergency actively going on in the region where you hopefully are not impacted, go to perimetermap.com and watch how it works so that you know in case it does impact you at some point, and you'll be able to see the shelters and where you take your pets and everything else that they end up populating on there, and you'll be familiar in case you ever need it for your own.
Okay, we have a second question from Brad.
Yeah, I just had a question if we, how we obtain a copy of the report and study.
Yeah, so the study will be public. And part of the study is for public comment. So we're figuring out how to have the public submit that comment and tie it to specific roadways. But hopefully the vendor will deal with that problem and not me. But so the public will have comment, and then the study will be made public and will be published on our website. In talking to other jurisdictions that have done evacuation studies, the public comments was the most valuable part of the process for them. So when that study is underway, we will certainly push it out through the cabs and every other means possible to us to make sure that we're giving the public the opportunity to share with us their concerns. Do you have?
Yes, I did. Where can we access the video for our friends and family that aren't here tonight?
Oh, yeah. It is great for parties, let me tell you.
Especially if you're there to narrate it.
Yeah, thank you. ReadyWashoe.com. And it's not the first thing, but it's about midway down the page. Yes.
Thank you for your enthusiasm.
Yeah.
I think it's really great. I didn't hear that you mentioned hazardous materials. There's a lot of hazardous materials that go I-80,
Yes.
you know, and how do you I assume you're not responsible for that, the spill folks are, but how do you interact if there's evacuation with that?
Yeah, so we have a group called the Local Emergency Planning Committee. They were initially hazmat focused, and actually one of the regional hazmat guys, his name is Cleach. He's with Sparks Fire, and he is the chair of that group. And so while it has evolved into something that is all hazards, the best practice of emergency management, we still really focus on hazmat. So he actually, in coordination with the sheriff's office, and some federal partners, put on a training yesterday, for hazmat. It was a bomb explosion. And so we're all in the room listening to the scenario and then talking through our responses. So we have a hazmat plan that is updated annually through that group, the LEPSI group. We just updated it. And then we plan, we train together, we exercise together, and we make sure that our methods of communication and coordination are as tight as possible. Now, we're practicing that in every other incident. So in a hazmat incident, it just depends on what it is. So if it's a mass casualty incident, I will probably hear from REMSA first, or REMSA dispatch, because there's something called a pre-alert, mass casualty pre-alert. So we'll hear about that, where they determine, you know, maybe it is a mass casualty or maybe it's not. If it's an environmental thing like we had here, did you guys know that this library was the first use of perimeter map? Because there was mercury in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And so that was the first time ever we used perimeter. We were so very excited. But yeah, gosh, who did we hear from first? I think we heard from Truckee Meadows first for that one. Could be the health district, but there are pathways of communication that are established, and we test those pretty frequently.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I really appreciate you coming. We're going to continue with our agenda so we can get out of here on time. The next thing that we're going to look at is the report requests from service for previous cab meetings. So we've started this that when you submit to speak, if you want a board member to contact you after the meeting, then you would put your contact information on this sheet. And so the last meeting, we're going to respond to some of the people that made a public comment that wanted some feedback. So the first one, I'm going to let Brad talk to, because I think you spoke to the woman about the property taxes, and then Candy followed through with some more information.
Well, fortunately, we had Commissioner, staff and Candy that prepared a lot of this, so let's give credit where it's due. Was trying to find, she was done because she makes the calls to the right people at the city of Sparks. If everyone has picked up this sheet, there's two of them. And actually, if everyone looks at them and if you review them, it has what you need. It really does. I mean, it explains it. The written, does everyone have a copy of this?
I don't know that, no, I don't think
Yeah, I don't
that's
think
why
so.
we're.
Okay, a public commenter expressed concerns regarding property taxes in light of the city of Sparks budget deficit and wondered if a property tax increase is being considered. This was shared with the city of Sparks council members and the city of Sparks manager's office. Two council members, Abbott and Bybee, and a member of the city of Sparks staff responded to this inquiry. The city acknowledged that it does have a challenge. It does have a challenging budget deficit they're working on to address in the fiscal year 25-26 budget. This is due to a combination of factors, including inflation, lower anticipated C-tax revenues, that's the sales tax, Nevada's property tax structure. Property tax cannot increase by more than 3% annually, while at the same time, properties are depreciated at 1.5% each year. As a result, any home in the city that is older than 5 years, excuse me, does not pay enough property tax to cover the services rendered by the city. Additionally, Nevada is the only state that does not reset the property tax when a home is sold. There is a bill being considered this legislative session in Nevada to reset the property tax at the point of sale. The legislature would have to make this change. There is a budget deficit Q&A document that is printed and in the room, as well as uploaded additional documents and so on. When you look at these, and what I just mentioned, property taxes, I do have one question, maybe someone could answer it. There are no car dealers in the city of Sparks.
On Victorian,
Not anymore.
not anymore.
Pardon me?
Oh.
I don't know. Again, I come from the big city.
Did you want to start
Down
one?
south. But you know, when you think about it, yeah, I mean, that's a huge resource. You know, when you're looking at taxes, and that came to my mind, being, again, I'm from SoCal. That's first thing I thought about, why do you need any car dealers, you know, in the city? Because, and then what do the people do that I know? They'll go down to Carson and get it because it's cheaper sales tax.
Right.
Well, I'm gonna hold out. I buy local because I support my cities. That's what I've always done. But that is a problem. You know, when the city's got the higher sales tax
Mhm.
and people, again, it's like voting, they buy with their feet and they're gonna go to the cheaper area. Which is something to consider. That was my little commentary.
Well, I like
What do
the
you think of that,
commentary,
Chair?
Brad. I think you should open one. Yeah.
And everyone here gets 10% off.
And I get 10% off. Okay, we're gonna continue with the other public comments. Again, I'm just trying to power through this to get us out of here on time. But there was a public commenter that voiced concerns about increasing commercial development in the area over the past 10 to 15 years, particularly warehouses. And so if you were here last month, he had urged representatives, including city council members, to implement these measures that would mitigate the visual and environmental impact of such developments. So he specifically suggested requiring the planting of evergreen trees around warehouses to provide year-round screening. He encouraged the community members to engage with local officials and advocate for more thoughtful and acceptable development practices. So this comment about the trees being around those big concrete warehouses was shared with the planning committee at Washoe County. So then the next speaker, public comment, raised concerns about the deterioration of Springs Canyon, and the sheriff did speak to that. He also left us a handout. So if you were here last month, this person rides his bike up there in the Golden Eagle Park. And he was observing an increase in target shooting, and which led which has led to significant trash accumulation and safety hazards that shooters are firing across roads and trails. So sometimes in close proximity to homes and recreational areas. So he urged officials to take action to improve this. I know that Commissioner Andriola is very aware of what's going on up there, and so is the sheriff, and they're working together to resolve some of those issues. But the sheriff did leave this for you. It's just a handout about restricted shooting in areas, and you can't shoot across a road.
Chair, may I
Yes.
just add to your point about the involvement
Yes.
of myself and staff, if I may. So literally April 8th, I would have had the distinct honor of being in this position for 2 years. I would say on April 9th of 2023, I got involved in the Golden Eagle Regional Park. I'll just quickly share with you that the idea and the plan is to look at that facility, that particular park having a shooting facility. And we've been working in that regard. So much so that there are various jurisdictions involved. So it's not easy as you can imagine, because you have the BLM, you have the Forest Service, and you have Washoe County, and the city of Sparks in terms of where it lines up. In fact, next week, we have a meeting with all the jurisdictions to look at that. The sheriff has been extremely responsive, so much so that as we saw the activity increasing in terms of just not understanding where the boundaries are for where you can legally shoot, they mounted horses and went up there and really did a lot for quite a period of time, and are having that, to your point, Chair, had that having that monitored on a regular basis. The goal, $80,000 has been designated to do a study to encourage BLM. Because I apologize, I wasn't able to make last month's meeting. I was actually in Washington, DC. I met with the current director that the president has put in place to talk about our little area, because it's not little. There's shooting that's happening and there's public safety issues. So we're very encouraged with the new administration being so quick to release land, that we might actually have the BLM help in a much more expedited fashion. Let me just say it that way. So I just want to let everybody know we're aware of it, we've been aware of it, and we're working diligently for a solution for the safety of all.
Thank you, Commissioner. That's helpful information. On the last topic that came up last month, on March 6th, the Board of Adjustment heard an appeal of an administrative hearing order on a code enforcement case associated with the property owned by individuals who made comments at the March 5th Spanish Springs CAB. And details of that case can be found on item 8D on the Board of Adjustment agenda for that date. During that meeting, the Board of Adjustment reversed the decision of the administrative hearing officer and upheld the code violation, giving the respondent 25 days to come into code compliance by removing stored RVs and any other illegally stored items on the vacant property. So again, if you're curious about what happened with that speaker, you can go to the Board of Adjustment, agenda 8D. Okay, so next on the agenda is the Neighborhood Development Hub. And so I believe, Candy, are you going to point out where the hub is? And I believe many of us received a letter recently about the Village Green Center.
Yes, thank you, Chair Billings. I want to show the Neighborhood Development Hub. I went directly to it, but if you go to washoecounty.gov, this is a really handy search bar. And if you say neighborhood meetings, that's where you can easily find the different search results and see here it says neighborhood meetings. And if you go down here, you will find the hub neighborhood schedule. So that takes you to this page I will share with you. This has not only a map feature where you can see where there's going to be any upcoming meetings based on these polka dots. They're also listed by name, and then there are any upcoming meetings. There is one coming up in District 1. You all are in District 4, so this won't pertain to you. But if you ever want to just zoom in, you will find the grading at Village Green, which is the one Chair Billings mentioned, if you want to learn more about that, it is in alphabetical order on this side. You click on grading at Village Green. Here's the meeting information, including when it took place, the district. Here's all of the information about the card that went out, the comment cards, different information. Here's the recording of that meeting. So this is a really nice website for you to go to either proactively learn about upcoming meetings or to go back and look later to see what took place. If you want to sign up to receive these notifications, only people who live within 750 yards, maybe it's feet from the proposed location receive a postcard, or a minimum of 30 properties. So if you are outside of that, but it's still going to impact you, of course, 750 feet is not very much space. If you go to washoecounty.gov's homepage and you scroll down, there is a sign up for email updates that interest you. I always encourage you to sign up for District 4, which is the district you're in. And you will see on here, there's also neighborhood developer meetings. So if you sign up to receive those, you will begin to receive emails on every neighborhood developer meeting. So it might be in District 4, it might not, but it's really helpful. So I do encourage you to do that. Any questions before I share the upcoming opportunities for board? Great. So I will go back to the homepage of washoecounty.gov. And if you look for board openings, it's very easy for you to find on there, board and commission openings. And I am very happy to share that both of our open opportunities for applications are pertinent to District 4. It's the Board of Adjustment and the Washoe County Planning Commission, and they are specifically looking for people who live in this area. So we very much encourage you to consider applying for these. It has specifics here about the term, when it starts, when it ends, how to apply, and the deadline. And that's for both of these. So, and then here's the link for the application. So if you have any interest in having a greater voice in planning and development in Washoe County, we encourage you to apply and visit this website.
Add something.
Yes.
The deadline for both of those is April 14th, which is around the corner. So I'd encourage you to consider applying, share with all your friends, new friends, make new friends. It's a nice topic to talk about. I don't know, but we're really trying to spread the word. District 4 is not as, there's lots of hope it's represented in a much better way in terms of just having more opportunities to represent our community. But I do want to point out really quick, when you look at the agenda, one of the things that the chair and I have been really proud, and the board as a whole, supported by Candy and others, is that you'll see each time that the link that says the hub will just take you there. You'll also see the link that says board and commission vacancies. It will immediately take you to District 4. You know what I mean? It'll take you there. So it's made to make this easy. And the idea was, if you're not here, but you want to pull up the agenda, that was another opportunity for you to apply and to be staying informed. So thank you.
Okay, so that takes us to item 9. And Commissioner Andrea, since you have already spoken, is there any other announcements that you would like to make under item 9?
You know, I missed last month, so can I make up time? Can I ask for a little time?
Well, we'll see.
No. Watch how easy this is.
If you go up there.
It's going to be so quick and you'll still meet your objective, Madam Chair. I was really trying to just apologize for not being here, but I was still working. Does that count? I try and work hard. Can I just really give a shout out to Kelly? Like, isn't it amazing? I've known Kelly a really long time. And isn't it amazing that you have somebody that works in disaster so happy? Yeah. I mean, she's not here to share that. But what a juxtaposition. Somebody that's so enthusiastic. I'm going to tell you right now, if there's ever an emergency, I hope no one ever has one. But if you are, Kelly's the best person to be with. And I've experienced that directly with her and some things that are tough. So we're very lucky in Washoe County to have such talented, incredible, dedicated people, including Kelly. So thank you for that and organizing that. So tomorrow, Tumwa is holding an online, everything you want to know about the water outlook. You know, there's a lot of misunderstanding about water. We're the blessed area in terms of Northern Nevada. And Spanish Springs is super special because we have more aquifers than you can imagine. You'll see, I serve as the vice chair of Tumwa, and you'll see I'm learning more about water. And then I could imagine, I'd encourage you to search for Tumwa. You'll see the link. If you can't find it, I left my cards. If you can't find it, just give me a call. I'll email. You can email me. I'll send you the link immediately. It's at 1 p.m. It's the water outlook for our area. On April 25th from 1 to 4 is at Renown, at the auditorium in Renown. It's the sequential intercept model. Have you all heard of that? So the sequential intercept model is a model that was put into place. It's a best practice out of Miami-Dade. It looks at from the beginning to almost the end of various folks who have behavioral issues or situations. And you can imagine if you have a situation where somebody is needing support, they're usually hitting the judicial system. They're hitting a lot of places, whether it's, you know, mental illness or self-induced challenges. The sequential intercept model has been so successful, and we are seeing the results of that. At this particular symposium, I went to the first one, which was last year. This is another symposium, the second one, if you will. You're going to hear from judges. You're going to hear from law enforcement. You're going to hear from everyone that touches this group in our community. And more importantly, you're going to hear the success of how it's worked, not only what has happened over the last year, but what the future looks like for this intercept model and how it is really saving an immense amount of money, as well as, more importantly, saving people in their lives. There's no amount of money on that, right? But the reality is, I don't think that you'll be disappointed. I would encourage you to register, but when you go online, here's why I left my cards. I know you're not going to hear this, but it's full. But here's what I did. I knew I was coming tonight, and so I spoke with the right people. You call me and I will get you in. So there's no fee, by the way. There's no charge. This is a symposium, but you have to register because it's limited space. So I will get you in somehow, even if we're sitting closely together for those who would want to share a seat. I will get you in somehow. I want everyone to learn about the sequential intercept model. There'll be a quiz next month for those of you that attend.
Is it an all-day thing?
Wonderful. Wonderful. Mhm. The last thing I want to share, actually two more things quickly. The Washoe, so I serve on the Nevada NACO board. It's the Nevada Association of Counties. It's how many counties in Nevada? This is a quiz.
17.
17. I don't know what you get, but if I get it, then great. The bottom line is there are 17 counties. We meet once a month. The first time, I'll use the term it might ever, I hope it's ever, the Nevada NACO has been approached, and we formally as a board voted to support this. Nevada is going to have a national Christmas tree in DC. But there's more. You ready? There's more. The Washoe County School District, it wasn't me, the whole board kind of thought, wouldn't it be cool to have kids make ornaments, right? And so each county is going to make a minimum of 50 ornaments. So Washoe County, I hope the kids will make some things that represent Washoe County. But either way, all 17 counties are having kids in each of those counties make 50 ornaments. So this is a Nevada NACO initiative. So I took it upon myself. I was recently voted as vice president of NACO, which I'm honored to have that confidence in me. But the point is that it was like, you know what? When I get back, I'm going to call who? The Washoe County School District. And guess what they just agreed to today? So it's hot off the press. They're 100% going to do this. Yeah. Isn't it exciting? It's really exciting. So I wanted to make sure I shared that with you. Another thing that's happening is each of the 17 counties will have an opportunity to, and I haven't seen this, it's coming next week, but some type of inscription for the tree skirt. So anyway, and so when that happens, when the tree is up, we'll get pictures and I'll share them with you. And then hopefully be able to share some of the ornaments and pictures from the kiddos who are making it. So I think that's really exciting. The last thing I have, I'm gonna make it. The last thing I have is the Washoe checkbook. How many of you heard about the Washoe checkbook? So on April 16th of 2024, yes, I looked it up. I had requested formally that we actually, meaning Washoe County, as a county commissioner, I formally asked if we could look at incorporating a resource, a tool that would allow Washoe County to have full transparency for you, the user, for everyone, whoever in the world, maybe we'll be that, doesn't matter. And when you go online, you'll be able to see where all the funding comes from. You'll be able to see where all the expenses go. It is actually going to be officially launched at the April 8th Washoe County Commission meeting. This idea, I would be remiss if I didn't give State of Nevada Controller Andy Matthews the kudos, because it was he who launched in January this Nevada checkbook. And the Nevada checkbook does the same thing, except it's for the entire state of Nevada. So I thought, well, if the state of Nevada can do it, we have a lot of talented people at Washoe County. We sure can. And you know what? It's live. So is everything going to be perfect? Probably not, but I'm guessing pretty much. And I've driven it, and it's really, really great. The other thing that I'll say is, how many of you have ever dealt with a budget? Big, small, or indifferent? Are they complex if you don't have any idea about the organization or how it's all? Yes, they are. They're extremely complex. So when I asked for it, it seemed to me that we really needed to have an opportunity so that people could actually understand what the budget, how it's put together. So there's going to be a budget 101, opportunity. And we're going to use the current budget, which hasn't been put out yet. And I wanted the current budget. We were originally going to do it on the 25th of March, but I will stand up and tell you, I wanted to have the current budget so that when everyone who wants to participate, you're looking at the current budget with the information, because it literally, meaning Washoe checkbook, activity will be updated every 24 hours. And so it's going to change, right? Revenue comes in, funding comes in, expenses go out. It's going to constantly change. And I wanted to have it to be stagnant because there's going to be a recording so that people who don't have an opportunity to attend this Budgeting 101 for Washoe Checkbook can watch the recording and then have the original budget to use as a tool to help navigate. So we've all been busy. And we're really proud to support transparency. Washoe County, my experience has been full transparency. It's everything I've dealt with so far in the last 2 years that I've been involved. And we're all committed. And I think this is just, I've not seen finance, it's been like Kelly. I've never seen finance people so excited, like to be able to actually proudly share all of the details for funding and expenses. So more to come, but that's my final, okay, I think I made it.
You did a good job.
You've got 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so I just wanted to thank Commissioner Andrea. She really is a great support to all of us. And one of the other things that she does for us is she listens to us. So there is a QR code on this table. I'm going to point it out to you because we depend on your input to bring in the speakers. Where is that QR code? It was here on the table.
Take it, maybe?
I don't know, but anyway, you know what a QR code looks like. I'll find it. But it's important that we get your input about upcoming speakers.
There it is.
There it is. Yes.
Up for grabs.
Can I leave the front table for people? Would that be okay with you? But anyway, it's important that you give us your input because that's what brings the speakers in. And she helps us along with Candy to bring these speakers to us. So I encourage you to use this and give us your ideas of who you would like to have come speak to us. And the other thing is, I would like to embrace the, oh, it's right here, the dignity index at our meetings. So if Candy can help us make that possible, that would be great. Enough from me. Do any of the CAB members have anything that they would like to add?
I thank the commissioner for a nice presentation and
Yes.
and you've been working on that checkbook project for at least a year. So it's coming together and.
I don't think she sleeps because she works very hard for us,
Yes, she
and
does.
I appreciate that. So now we're gonna go to item 10, and this is the general public comment, and I know that Mike Wallace has been waiting. And you state your name for the record and come up to the podium and,
Mike Willis, and I'm a longtime Spanish Springs homeowner. I just want to bring this up real quickly. Homeowners are having a major problem with the industrial development going on the east side of Pyramid Highway. It's called Village Green Commerce Center. And the zoning has been changed over there. Excuse me, and they're gonna dump 200,000 square foot warehouse, excuse me, in a residential area. And the homeowners around there are not being notified of the things that are going on until the county sends out their little card and says there's a meeting. There's a meeting tomorrow about a grading permit for that development. And we need to get more involved in this. We need to get everybody out here involved. Pardon me. But they're dumping these warehouses over here in a residential area, and it's gonna be a nightmare. And so there's a whole lot more to it, but I won't take up your time. I just wanted to bring it up so that everybody's aware of it.
thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question, and if I
A
may.
question, yes, you can ask a question.
One of the two of you said 750 feet from a development.
Who received the postcard?
Yeah.
And so unfortunately, that's just what the requirement is, but anyone can log
Is that a
on.
law?
It is.
Yeah, I am the only homeowner that's adjacent to this development. So legally, according to the planning commission, I'm the only one that gets notified.
Or 30 people.
30 minimum, yeah.
It has to be a minimum of 30. So even though the 750 is in there, well, I'm just saying, and I'm happy. Why don't you take my card
Not
now?
happening. Yes, well,
Yeah.
that's
I'm
not
just-
happening.
How do they pick the other 30 people? Randomly?
No, not randomly, within the radius of the particular project.
Gotcha, okay.
Okay, Jason?
I was notified by mail of that grading project.
I
A lot
was
more
too.
people than 30 involved in this, so that's.
Well, this is off
It's-
the agenda. So we just can listen to the public comment. And I would recommend you to take Commissioner Andrew's card and she can talk to you more
I will.
about this. And then we can make sure that the hub is on the next agenda so that we can keep reminding people how they go to public meetings concerning development in the area.
Where's that meeting tomorrow? Washoe County at 1:30,
Ninth and
Ninth and
Wells.
Wells,
Ninth and Wells, yeah.
for a special use permit for grading.
Okay, with that, do I have a motion? We are 5 minutes late.
Good job.
Yeah. Do I have a motion?
During the meeting. Jason Evans, for the record.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.